This is episode 13 of Away, a podcast for anyone interested in a secular approach to 12-step recovery. I'm your host, Steph Roberts. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, January 15th at 6:30. I got up extra early this morning, naturally, which is great, and yet I still don't manage to get out of the house any earlier. I still have this cold, so I apologize for the sniffles and the sound of my voice, which may actually sound better. I don't know, a little Eartha Kitty or a little Tom Waitsy. Okay, so we left off at the very end of chapter 6, and I had mentioned, I think, one of the things my husband had said once that I take with me all the time, which is that steps 1 through 11 are really a foundation, and step 12 is really the work. So hopefully by now you have adopted some new attitudes, changed some of the ways you think, not all. Changed some of the things about yourself that were holding you back from being your best self and from being the best person you can be in the world as a whole. That's really what those 11 steps have been about, for all the terrible wording and all the God and blah, blah, blah. In the end, they're sort of about finding your truest self, finding your moral compass, finding the good within. And that's true for believers and non-believers. It's almost as if each of those steps is coupled. You have step 1, which is sort of a standalone, that gets you in. And then 2 and 3 are kind of a couple, 4 and 5. So one step sets you up emotionally for the next step, which asks you to take action. As we said in a previous episode, that could be way simplified into sort of the original 6 steps, and God could easily be plucked out of it and just a mere suggestion for people for whom God is important or are believers and want to rediscover that. But that's a whole other conversation. So we're going to move into chapter 7, working with others. And the reason I said all that prior to beginning the chapter is because that's what this chapter is dedicated to. I think we can expand the idea of step 12, giving back not just in the rooms of alcoholics, which is really important, because if we don't give back to other alcoholics and we don't stay present for them in some sense, and this is true for drug addicts too, of course, if we don't keep showing up in one way or another, how will they get help? We're not the only option, but we're an option. And if we're an option that works for even 10 people, we need to keep showing up so that what was available to us remains available to them. Not everybody has the luxury of rehab. Not everybody has the luxury of insurance to cover anything. So God or not, antiquated or not, florid language or not, this remains a free option to at least try, to at least start. It offers hope. That's why step 12 is, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many, the most important step and the one that you will continuously do for the rest of your life. But again, it isn't just about in the rooms of alcoholics. So while steps 10 and 11 also remain a practice in a sense, or really step 11, a practice for the rest of your life, hopefully, mindfulness. But all these other changes you've made, as the promises say, become a working part of the mind. And that means, as I've said before, that they're no longer as difficult. And not only do they become second nature, but they become your nature. Because in many instances, in my experience, they were always your nature. They were always there. And I've said that before. They were just buried. But they always lived within you. So, all right. Sorry. Long preface to Chapter 7, Working with Others. So, in my opinion, working with others is, for various reasons, antiquated. And much of the advice in the chapter cannot apply today. The world is very different. The drugs are very different. The dangers are very different. Sponsoring, 12-stepping, kind of something I think we need to learn like an apprentice from your own sponsor and from others around you. I would really suggest that newcomers, even if it's with a friend, don't make any 12-step calls. You need to save your own life. And then you can start helping others. And there's plenty of service you can do in other capacities until you're a little steadier. Sorry about the pages here. I'm actually just opening up my husband's copy. So I'm going to look at his notes a little to make this actually a little bit more helpful. Carry this message to other alcoholics. You can help when no one else can. So many a great philosopher, thinker, writer has said this very same thing before. Theory is one thing. Practical experience is another. And this is the heart of one alcoholic talking to another. You have experience drinking, hitting a bottom. You also have experience getting and staying sober. And it is so much easier to hear the advice and suggestions of people who have actually done the same thing you're about to embark on, right? And it is only with experience that we gain true wisdom. One of my favorite quotations of all time, and I'm going to mess it up a little bit, is Edith Wharton, and she said, "Wisdom, unfiltered through experience, does not become a part of the moral tissue." So you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you haven't had the experiences to, in essence, prove your thesis, in AA, we're talking about helping one another because we get it. We're not going much deeper than that in the end. Like, I get it. You can open up to me. You can be honest. Moving down the page. Life will take on new meaning to watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. I can't promise the host of friends. Your meeting may not be filled with people you would otherwise hang out with. I feel lucky to have made a few close friends in 8 years. You will not like everyone, and everyone will not like you. AA is real life. So while everybody, hopefully, is civil and friendly, and open-minded in a meeting of AA, it doesn't mean everybody's going to be your bestie. And you don't have to like everybody. The only thing you have to do is be civil and kind to the people there. But it is pretty exceptional to see newcomers come in and go through the process and stay sober. To watch a newcomer change is just amazing. I don't think sponsors should be put on pedestals. They will fall. And I just think of it more as a mentor. Not a life mentor, a sobriety mentor. So it goes on to say, perhaps you are not acquainted with any drinkers who want to recover. You can easily find some by asking a few doctors, ministers, priests, or hospitals. True then, today, look into institutional service where you can go into detoxes and rehabs, bring a meeting in, see what your hospitals and institutions' commitments are with your group. That is also another great service to do in another place, not to talk about God, to really just talk about the end of your drinking and the beginning of your sobriety. To be helpful is our only aim. That's it. So that looks different now than it did from 1939. So just sort it out now. Figure out the best way you can be helpful to other addicts and alcoholics in recovery. Perhaps there's someone in your life who needs help too. That's been true of me. By staying in AA or just staying sober, I was equipped to help friends who came to me much later. Page 90. If he does not want to stop drinking, don't waste time trying to persuade him. You may spoil a later opportunity. So as much as this has felt like AAs are missionaries up until now, this is an important point. Proselytizing doesn't work. I'm almost certain every listener doesn't like it when someone does that to them in any facet of life. So that's no different here. Don't deal with him when he is very drunk, unless he is ugly and the family needs your help. I mean, there's a point where you may call the police. I had one sponsee once, she was very angry with me for this, but she had a friend who was drunk, who was considering suicide, and I guess had called her in a panic, and she was going to kill herself right then and there. And my sponsee calls me on the way back from seeing her friend and tells me she went. And she didn't call me before because she knew I would say, bad plan. If this person is really about to kill herself, 911 is who you call. It seems extreme, but it is not your job, nor can you save this person's life. This is a bigger problem than you and AA can solve. On page 91, see your man alone if possible. At first, engage in general conversation. After a while, turn the talk to some phase of drinking. Tell him enough about your drinking habits, symptoms, and experiences to encourage him to speak of himself. What we've talked about all along, the crux of AA. I know it. You can tell me because I've been there, done that. If he is not communicative, give him a sketch of your drinking career. Same thing. If he is in a serious mood, you can dwell on the troubles liquor has caused you, being careful not to moralize or lecture. That's not what you're there for. You're not there to convert anybody. You're just there to share your experience, because hopefully it will take some of the shame out of his experience. Hopefully he will feel like you are someone with whom he can be honest because you've made the same mistakes or been badly behaved in the same ways as he has. Page 92, you're helping him identify the problem. Tell him how baffled you were, how you finally learned that you were sick. Give him an account of the struggle you made to stop. Show him the mental twists which lead to the first drink of a spree. If he is an alcoholic, he will understand. Show him from your own experience. I mean, this is something, honestly, that we've taken with us through most of the last decades. You come from the I place. I did this. I feel this way. This is my experience. No accusational statements. No aggressive, you did this and this is your problem. And you're just talking about your own experience. Stress the spiritual feature freely. If the man be agnostic or atheist, make it emphatic that he does not have to agree with your conception. I mean, you don't have to stress the spiritual aspect, in my opinion. If you're talking to someone and that person asks you about it, say that AA certainly makes a spiritual experience available to you. It's my experience that making sure the person understands that it's not cult-like, that there is no requirement that you believe in a supernatural higher power, that in time you may identify a god, many gods. You may find that for yourself. AA opens you up to that possibility, but it's not a requirement. Page 94 is really about the program, explaining the program to this person. Outline the program of action, explaining how you made a self-appraisal, how you straightened out your past, and why you are now endeavoring to be helpful to him. Suggest how important it is that he place the welfare of other people ahead of his own. That worked for me, that idea that if I can't do this for myself, I can do it for people I love. I can make this change for people I love. And then in time, I loved myself enough to keep making these positive changes. At the bottom of the page, on your first visit, tell him about the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Fellowship. That's really important in the beginning. Fellowship. You're going to find people who get it. You're going to find people who genuinely care that you get it. They want to help. Of course, like in life, there are assholes. Anyway, so the next episode, we will finish up working with others. I hope you have a great day or a great night. I don't know when you're listening to this. I hope, as always, that this episode and others has helped you to feel confident that no matter what, there is a way.